Hello, everyone. I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to another edition of Missoula Live. It's live today on Monday. I think it's February 5th. And I have a few things to tell you about MCAT. My co-host, Kim Anderson, is traveling for work, so I'm going to do the show alone with others, with guests. So the MCAT news, perhaps before you've heard me talk about our Saturday animation workshop. It's a drop-in program every Saturday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And there's a fee of $10 unless your child's enrolled in a flagship program, and then they're free. You could come anytime, like it says, drop in. So if you want to come at 1:30, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock starts to get a little pointless, but up till 3, you could definitely drop in. And we'd like you to come by around 5. So far, we've had some kids. Last Saturday, 9. Saturday before, there were 16. The kids learn a little bit of computer animation with a stop animation program. They mostly use like Legos and move them around. We've got green screen. We've got a few tricks up our sleeve for the kids to keep them occupied. They also spend their off time using our virtual reality setup. And the $10 fee is waived for students in the flagship program. So if you want more information, visit our website at mcat.org or call us at 542-6228. The other thing I want to bring your attention to is something Scott and Neil, longtime media mentor counselors here at MCAT, have been working on, and that's a spring break workshop. So for spring break this year, it's March 26th through the 30th. If your kids are going to be in town, they may be interested in this workshop. It will mimic school hours thereabouts. I guess it's a little more gentle. It starts at 9 and it goes till 3 p.m. It's $150 for the week. That provides about 30 hours of contact for the kids. There'll be a little bit of like a screening, a live party. Scott, are you going to do like a live show at the end like you do for summer camp? He's saying, yeah, maybe they'll schedule that. So at the end, the parents, the caregivers, the what have you, the little brothers, the older sisters, they can come here to MCAT. We'll have a little reception and then do a live show about what the kids did and learned during the week. So look at mcat.org if you're interested in that. And then finally, focus groups. And you, Scott, could click on the focus group tab I just made if you want to. It's a pretty ugly page. I'm sure I'll be like trying to dress it up. But it's at mcat.org. And then it's a different page than that, but whatever. You guys will get the idea. The idea is that Charter Spectrum Cable is going to start renegotiating the contract with the city of Missoula that has provision in it for MCAT's operation. So what we're going to do this year is take stock of MCAT's operation. We're going to look into our past service and then try to do a visioning effect of where we'll go in the next 10 years, because that's the length of the contract that's coming up for renewal. We'll be in the library. And so that's fascinating. So if you're interested in helping MCAT out with your thoughts, your ideas, your vision, look on the website, go to mcat.org focus groups, or click on the bottom, like Scott did, of the picture of the happy people from our spring party, and it will take you to a registration page that will tell you the dates. This is still in the offing, let's say. It's April 3rd and 4th. A 2-hour session at the large meeting room in the library. We'll be offering door prizes for people that come. There'll be refreshments. We'll try to make it like a learning, growing, fun process. All right, enough out of me. Travis Hoffman is here. He is the Advocacy Coordinator for Summit Independent Living. Welcome. Thanks for coming, Travis.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you know it. So if people have never heard of Summit Independent Living, can you give them like a nutshell overview of your mission and what have you?
All right. So Summit Independent Living is a nonprofit that was started off in 1981 as a kind of a Department of Community Medical Center, and then broke off as its own nonprofit 501c3. And so our mission is to advance the independence and civil rights of individuals with all types of disabilities. And so what we do is we're a non-residential, nonprofit organization, like I said, And we provide an array of services geared towards giving individuals with disabilities the tools and resources they need to manage their own lives and live as independently as they possibly can, as well as to teach them self-advocacy skills and organize and really advocate on a systemic level for improved services and programs and access to architecture, access to attitudinal barriers, and pretty much any aspect of life that you can think of we're involved in.
Nice. I think about, how difficult it is to get around when I'm a pedestrian, and curb cuts. Right. Really a big thing. And when there's snow and ice around, like today, it seems like it would be super hard just to get around on surface streets.
Yeah, that's a big barrier. If you've ever walked around Missoula, you'll see curb cuts on one end of the block and none on the other end. And in the wintertime, with the snow piling up, snow plows just kind of shove it to the side and don't really make room for the curb cuts or anything, and that's kind of up to individual landowners to clear their sidewalks. A lot of people do a good job. There's a lot of improvement that needs to be made, but that's definitely a good example of some of the physical barriers that people face around not only Missoula, but
lots of places. So. I know it's even harder, I guess, in cold weather climates, because the surfaces become so treacherous and so on. And you mentioned also attitudinal problems, like you would help someone if they felt that they were being discriminated against in employment, or I know a legal term that often comes up in employment is reasonable accommodation, for instance.
Yes, so the nature of our services and what we call independent living philosophy is to work with individuals to be their own self-advocates. And so when we get a call, say somebody thinks that they're being discriminated in the workforce, we will work with them to kind of address the situation through them so that they can do it through themselves and address that. And we kind of act as a support person and kind of guide them through that advocacy process. Or if it's really a situation that really warrants higher level involvement, say from an attorney or something, we'll refer out to an attorney group or to Disability Rights Montana, which is the statewide protection and advocacy agency for Montana.
Right, so that's good for viewers to know that there's help out there. Especially if somebody, not everyone is like a built-in self-advocate. A lot of people are like, well, this is the way it is. I guess I can work around it. I know I'm that way. Like, oh, okay. So to know that there would be support out there where people could direct you to legal resources or what have you, that seems pretty nice. And also for housing too, you would help people work out where they could rent, where they'd have access to elevators, or just a kind of an ordinary American with Disabilities Act compliance.
So, right. So kind of backing up and so we have 4 offices and we serve 7 counties here in Western Montana. And so each of our offices maintains kind of a resource list of available housing and what housing agencies are out there. And here in Missoula, just last year, we hired a community living specialist. And that person's job is to kind of keep on top of the housing market and the housing issues that are going on, advocate for increased affordability of housing as well as access to housing. And so part of that is helping individual consumers through learn about and apply for, if need be, programs like Section 8, public housing, the home ownership program, and just kind of educating consumers and the public kind of about those issues, and also ensuring that housing plans such as at the Department of Commerce, Missoula Housing Authority, the Human Resource Council, Homeward, that they're taking into consideration the needs of people with disabilities when they're building housing projects or implementing their policies and procedures. So.
Yeah, that's got to be a strong challenge in Missoula, because we've just read, like, Missoula Organization of Realtors came out with their report. There were like 9 houses in Missoula under $200,000, 6,000 people looking for them, and that the vacancy rate was still like half the national average at 2.5% or something like this.
Right.
So that if people need the ADA compliance, like wide doors or ramps or things, it must be a very, very difficult search.
Well, here in Missoula, and you're absolutely correct, it's way harder to and way more expensive to retrofit a building once it's been built. And so here in Missoula, we had a resolution passed by the Missoula City Council within the past 3-4 years, I believe, that encourages builders to incorporate visitability, visitable design into new construction of private residences, single-family homes, things like that. And so those 3 visitable things are 1 0-step entry, wider doorways and hallways, and then 1 bathroom on the main floor that can be accessed with a wheelchair. And so that not only opens up the housing market more for people with disabilities or mobility issues, or individuals who are getting older and may not get around as well to be able to purchase homes. But if homes are built in that way, it'll allow people to maintain in their own homes without the need for expensive renovations or to move. But it also allows friends and family with disabilities to visit.
Yeah.
And so, and I just heard from Julie Merritt over the weekend, a city council person, that in building a lot of this affordable housing that's been going up around town and making some of them accessible, there's a frustration that people with disabilities aren't applying for those locations or purchasing. And that's what really compounds the housing, especially here in Missoula where housing is expensive. For people with disabilities, is because a lot of people with disabilities live well under the poverty line. And
Right.
so without a voucher or without some kind of assistance, renting, let alone purchasing a house or a condo or something, is just way out of reach. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost seems like that it's time for the architecture course to come along with society's changed attitudes. That the older houses, if someone had a disability, often they say, well, we'll institutionalize them or we'll do something. And so everything is narrow and everything is impossible to get at, steps or stoops like in cities that just shoot right up, like 1 foot difference between the steps and so on.
Well, and a lot of builders and designers opt to go for the townhouse style, which is exempt from accessibility standards.
Oh, I did not know that.
So when these large developments are built with townhouses, it really limits the housing market even more for people with disabilities.
Yeah. And I think it's really a reflection of the kind of society people live in. Sometimes people say, oh, they made me put in, like the stair lift, and I haven't used it in 2 years. But the question is, do you want to live in a society that provides for everyone instead of saying, well, the use is so low, the percentage is so low?
Well, when you think about it, if you build to a standard that is accessible and usable by all, it's accessible and usable by all. It's not excluding a certain segment of the population, and there's no need for future retrofits just to include a population. If we could build more towards what we call universal design, building costs would not be substantially higher, and you would avoid those expensive renovation costs down the line.
Yeah. So this is the kind of advocacy work that Summit does on a daily basis. And then if somebody's watching the program and they think, well, maybe I feel like I'm not disabled enough to even ask these guys for help, like I'd mentioned to you Parkinson's, that suddenly people that felt perfectly fully mobile are suddenly not, could they avail themselves of Summit Independent Living Services?
Our services are available to anybody with a disability. Severity of disability is not something we look at. Our services are free. Come in. Like I said, we offer a variety of consumer services from benefits counseling, applying for Social Security benefits, helping with self-advocacy. We go into the schools to teach advocacy skills to students, help them through their transition into adult life, nursing home transition services. We have a peer advocacy program, so if somebody with a disability just needs somebody to talk to or somebody to help them go through some situation, we can match them up with one of our peer advocates to kind of provide that one-on-one mentorship thing. We provide classes, a variety of classes, living well with a disability, working well with a disability. We have, it's called WRAP class, Wellness Recovery, and I'm forgetting what the last two letters, but it's geared towards improving your mental health. We also have self-directed personal assistance and community first choice services. So if an individual is needing in-home care with some of their activities of daily living, they could sign up through Summit to provide that service. So the way that works is the consumer would sign up with us and go through an evaluation process. Then they'd be able to hire their own person to come into their house and provide them with some assistance. And so our services aren't geared towards one thing or the other. They're geared towards pretty much anybody with any type of disability. We have a program here near the downtown area called BASE, which does a lot of improv and kind of helping people with communication skills and kind of how to communicate and improve those kinds of skills so that they can do better in the job interview process and all those kinds of daily interaction scenarios that you just have to have. So
yeah, it sounds great. And I want to remind people that Summit Independent Living is right here in Missoula, one office, and you have other offices, Kalispell, Pulse, and down the Bitterroot where we don't go, but our signal. But you guys are right in the Patty Creek Market parking, 700 Southwest Higgins.
right.
And there's like a new store called Used Furniture that I want to look at. The phone number is 728-1630. Well, Travis, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off and get the next group in?
So the only thing that I'd maybe add, we talked a lot about some of the advocacy work we do, and we're always needing people to get involved in that. One person can't do it all, and it takes a village, it takes an army when it comes to advocating to the legislature or city council about issues that are really important. So on our website, which is www.summitilc.org.
Right, and Scott's showing it to the folks at home.
Yep, that's our. And so if you go there and you go about 2/3 down the page, there's a blue button that says "Become an Advocate."
That one right there on the right?
Yeah, that one right there. And that little form will pop up. And that, if you fill out that form, it'll put you on what we call our action alert system. And so periodically we send out emails about issues that are important and ask people to contact their legislators, their city council members, things like that, Senator Tester, Senator Daines, whoever it may be, that needs to be contacted for any certain issue. As a way of kind of just having a voice for individuals who may think they don't have one, and it kind of really expands our grassroots network.
Yeah.
And gives people with disabilities a larger voice.
That sounds like a great idea. So people can participate. You know, they don't necessarily have to or have the money for a donation, but you guys are a nonprofit 501c3, but they could register to be an advocate and then get on the action list, and it would just take a phone call or signing a petition or making a visit to a field office or something.
Correct. So when we send out the emails, there's usually a link right in the email that brings you back to our website, and there's usually a pre-written letter, or if we're asking people to make phone calls, there's a script there.
Yeah.
We make the advocacy part really easy, just because some people are really uncomfortable in doing that sometimes. So.
Yeah.
And then obviously being a 501c3 and with the latest round of budget cuts, we're got a big hole in our budget, and so we do accept donations. There's a donate link right on the top of our website, and if anybody should want to support us, I mean, we'd be greatly appreciate it.
Great. Well, Travis, thanks for taking the time to come over today.
Yeah, thank you.
And you know where we live, so don't be a
I
stranger.
do now.
At least we'll be here until they build a new library. So we'll be right back. I know I got another guest. I'll tell you who it is. It's Bev Young, and she's representing the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, the Missoula chapter. Scott's going to show you a clip, and we'll be right back after this.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Missoula Community Access Television works with kids in an active learning environment where they get hands-on experience in video production. MCAT offers weekly Saturday classes that spark creativity in kids from 9 to 13 years of age. Located downtown at 500 North Higgins. MCAT Saturday Drop-Ins. Create your story.
Ranchers are the stewards of Montana's great grasslands and wetlands. Ducks Unlimited works with ranchers on conservation programs to improve cattle production and wildlife habitat. Montana is the nation's third largest waterfowl producer. Ducks Unlimited promotes working lands programs that help keep ranchers on the land while improving habitat for wildlife and Montana's outdoors people. To learn more about conservation and Ducks Unlimited, visit www.ducks.org/Montana.
Okay.
We're back. Hello, everyone. We're back with Bev Young. She is representing NAMI, National Association on Mental Illness. Welcome.
Right. Thanks, Joel.
So I did spy a press release about an upcoming workshop, but I'm sure we should get to that. We should explain to people the mission and purpose of the NAMI, of the Alliance. Yeah. And this is the Missoula chapter of the National Association.
Right. That's right. So the National Alliance on Mental Illness is the largest advocacy organization for those with mental illness. And it is a national alliance, and we are part of the Montana chapter. We are the Missoula affiliate. And we have a fairly large membership of individuals who participate in our programs, have concerns about individuals with mental illness, and we have an office in town. It happens to be at St. Paul Lutheran Church at 202 Brooks. We are not associated with the church, but they graciously allow us to use some of their facilities.
That's great.
So a lot of our programs are there.
And there's a dedicated phone number. There's not someone there 24/7, but you can leave a message.
That's right.
And then I called it to get a hold of someone to come on the show, and there's plenty of direction, like if this is an emergency and so on, so people are not going to get confused that you guys are offering like a walk-in clinic or anything.
No, but we would say anytime our door is open, and that door is open usually Monday through Thursday from 9 until noon.
Okay.
Right now we have a student who is helping out, and she's actually staffing the office on Fridays. It's best maybe to call ahead if somebody wants to come in. Our president and Jack Shiflett is the person who usually staffs that office. We have a library, and we have resources for people and Jack is really good about putting folks in touch with others that, have
acting as a
particulars.
coordinator.
Exactly.
Like, okay, do you think you want like a talking cure therapist?
Right.
You can refer. Or,
Right. Yeah, we try not to give specific referrals,
Right.
But we let people know what resources there are. And we have a fabulous book, I wish I had brought a copy with me, called You Are Not Alone. It's about a 30-page booklet that covers all kinds of Missoula County resources for individuals with mental illness.
Nice.
Covers, food, therapy, clinics, housing issues, it covers the gamut of any resource out there that we are aware of. We update this booklet at least once every 2 years and typically every year.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful that you have this outreach, because still it's 21st century and yet people feel, what's the word I'm looking for? A stigma. That mental
totally.
illness is still like way back in the witchery of Salem in the 17th century sometimes. And sometimes you'll see very clever memes, where somebody says, well, I have a broken leg. And then the response is, well, why don't you just get off that couch and go out for a jog? That should heal the leg. But that often people will approach mental illness as a matter of will. Either you lack the will to overcome it, or you're shamming, or it doesn't really exist, that it's a fault of character rather than an illness. And humans seem to be constantly looking for that line so that they can render a judgment.
That's true.
Lack of character or will, there comes the judgment. It's not very good.
Well, I think a lot of people are afraid of mental illness because they don't understand it.
Right.
I like to use the phrase a brain disorder because that's what it is. I mean, the neural synapses are not firing correctly, and that's why an individual struggles with something. Also, we like to say mental illness is not an illness that prompts people to bring casseroles over.
Right.
Right.
They run away rather than say, what kind of support
right.
do
yeah,
you need?
do you need? What
For
can I do to
parents,
help?
for instance, they're ashamed of the child is being diagnosed with process schizophrenia or something. Is a big secret, right? Big problem.
Oh, totally. You don't want, because people then, withdraw because they are uncomfortable with it. So part of our goal is to help educate people about
Right.
mental illness. And one of the things, the reason I'm here, you got an announcement about a new class that we are
that's right.
teaching.
We're going to talk about that. I got so caught up in this.
Well,
other
let's
business.
talk about this. So for many, many years, we have put on a class here. It's a 12-week program, though, called Family to Family. So it's taught by individuals like myself, who has the lived experience
Right.
of having individuals in my family who live with some type of brain disorder. It is taught by individuals like us to other people in that situation. That is, 12 weeks, that's 3 months. We only teach it once a year. Well, NAMI at the national level realizes that we need other programs to respond more quickly to people. So we are only one of 7 states that is piloting this new program called Family and Friends. It is a 4-hour class, and we are actually doing it again this coming Saturday. February 10th from
Right.
1 to 5 p.m. And
It's at the office, 202 Brooks.
well,
or?
we will let people know where it is once they register.
All right, there you go.
And the reason we do that is we really need to know ahead of time how many people are going to be there to have appropriate resources available.
Sure.
So I'll get to registration in a minute, but
Okay.
we ask that people pre-register for the class. So this class, it's sort of the family to family light is what we go over diagnoses, treatment, recovery, communication skills for family members or friends of those who have a mental illness, crisis plans, and other things to help people, when they are struggling or in recovery, maybe even from a psychiatric hospitalization. So it's a lot of material presented in 4 hours, and the wonderful thing about it, we've presented it twice already in Missoula, and we thought it was so good that we want to keep doing it, hopefully about once a month, you know. So we are trying to get more people trained to teach this. People can sign up for this. We would add, the easiest way is just to go to do an internet search for NAMI Missoula.
And Scott just showed it to the folks at home. Scott, will you put it up again just so people at home, know what it's going to look like and so on?
Yeah, so NAMIMissoula.org.
Yeah,
if you go to that site,
find hope.
And the very first thing is the directions, that's it, on how to sign up for the class. And then they will get a message from me later this week telling them the specifics of, there's actually an ebook, a Kindle book that you can download that has all the materials, but we also provide those in paper as well. So you can sign up at that website, or if that's not your thing, you can call our office at 880-1013, and if there's no one there to answer, we'll get the message and then register for you.
Okay,
I mean, not everybody is, a computer person.
It's true.
It's true.
And they don't, some older people that have not been interested, they don't want the expense.
Exactly. And so in our family-to-family class last fall, which I was in, we had an individual in there who was 85, you know? I mean, we had 3 or 4 people who did not communicate via email. We use snail mail to communicate with them. Or
I'm
phones,
glad you said it, because sometimes people presume a lot about either people's income or interest when they say, well, just go online, as if that's universal.
Yeah, no, it's not. And we understand that. And we want people to come to this class and other things. I would like to just put a plug in for another program that we have going right now called Managing Your Life. And this is taught by an individual who has a mental illness diagnosis, and it covers skills often that may not be part of the toolbox for people with mental illness. So it might cover communication skills, decision making, good strategies for improving your health. Anyway, it's it's a model that's been used in a lot of psychiatric rehab, and that program is a drop-in one, though, and it's going for a series of weeks. It started in the middle of January, but an individual with a mental illness can certainly drop in on that class. It's Wednesday mornings, 10 a.m. at St. Paul Lutheran.
Okay.
And if you just enter the courtyard area of St. Paul Lutheran, it's upstairs in what they call the fellowship room, which is where a lot of our classes are held. There are other things we offer. We have a Wednesday afternoon arts and crafts group for a variety of individuals, and that's from about 1 to 3 on Wednesdays. We also have a family support group on Thursday evenings from 6 to 7:30, and that is a drop-in, for individuals who have issues going on with a family member or a friend. Yeah, I think that's wonderful too, to give that support to the caregivers and the people surrounding someone experiencing brain disorder trouble, because often people don't know where to turn or how to begin, and say maybe the troubled individual is getting some attention, some therapy, some drug treatment, what have you. The people around them are often left That's right.
They're left with the stigma and little else, resource. So they're really freaked out too, and you guys are there for them, which is wonderful.
I mean, just being comfortable enough to know how to communicate with somebody who may be in some kind of a psychiatric distress.
Yeah.
You don't want to add to that. Just understanding empathy. I mean, we actually give people empathic guidelines, communication guidelines, using I statements rather than you make me so angry, you know.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been through it. I had the boyfriend who was castigated for suicide attempts by his parents.
By his parents.
You could have destroyed the wallpaper in the bathroom, or look what you put us through, and so on. So I've seen when I was young, quite close hand that, people were not very accepting. They were really freaked out, and all they wanted was that normalcy.
Right.
But it came out often in anger, frustration, disappointment, perfectly natural responses that were of no use, if not making the situation worse.
Right.
So, I think instinctively people need to learn.
They need to learn. It's just like parenting skills. I mean, I first learned about I statements as a parent, how to talk so kids will listen and listen so kids will talk, a great parenting book if ever there was one.
That sounds really good.
But a lot of times, we haven't gone to school to understand psychiatric illness, and we want to offer that a resource to individuals. Certainly, it's not a class in psychology,
right,
but it gives people hope, and I think hope and care to reach out with love to the people that you really care about.
Yeah.
And you want them to be resilient. You want them...
Sure, the dearest wish, I should think.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I guess we better move along. I really appreciate you coming
Oh, well,
to
thank
talk
you.
about it.
I hope that individuals out there will go to that website, and if that's not your thing, please call our office at 880-1013.
Oh, Bev, thank you so
thank you,
much.
Joel. Yeah.
And we'll be right back. I know at least 2 more guests are there from University of Montana. They're here to talk about the alumni lecture series known as the Community Lecture Series right after this. Okay.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school. Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Your local library, igniting the passion for reading.
How would you like to have an endless supply of books, movies, music, audiobooks, and even ebooks whenever you want? Your library card can do all that, and it doesn't cost a thing. You can pick up a library card anytime the library is open, free of charge to residents. All you need is a picture ID with your current address. The library will then verify your address, and once they have, your library card will be good for life. Library card holders may borrow several items to enjoy all at once. Be sure to check the return dates, as they may vary depending on what items you check out. It's so easy to get access to all the library has to offer, and best of all, it's free. To learn more, stop by your local library or visit their website.
This just in, the event that happens only once a year is back. The 2018 Hospice Ball Night of Stars. The 2018 Hospice Ball, Friday, February 23rd at the Hilton Garden Inn.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we are back with Kevi Berger. She's got to get her grandchild, so we're going to go through excitingly, quickly, a wonderful event coming up to support the Hospice Care Foundation. Welcome.
Hi.
Congratulations on what looks
Yes.
like
Oh my gosh.
a wonderful event. We just saw a clip, a little prelude.
Yes.
So it's a 40s theme this year.
Yes.
And it's at the Hilton Garden Inn.
Yes.
Let's tell the people that it's to support Hospice Care Foundation, which brings in money and then in turn regrants it to
Yes.
hospice care organizations throughout Missoula.
Well, and not just throughout Missoula. It's actually throughout Western Montana.
Wonderful.
And since I saw you last, we actually have instated a whole new set of granting programs, which are specifically for hospice patients and their families. So we do financial assistance. We do bereavement care. We can help pay for respite care. We have a program called My Wishes. So it's granting to individuals to help them with their last wish, whether it's seeing family or a last vacation. And then we also help with burial cremation assistance as well. So we actually have, those grants to organizations and to patients, and it's throughout Western Montana.
Oh, that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
the service is growing and it's really
Yes.
needed.
It is, and that's why the Hospice Ball is so important, because it is not that you've been there. Hopefully,
I
maybe
admit
this
it
year.
as much. I have not yet gone.
Maybe this year, but the great thing about it is that 100% of the net proceeds that are raised from the Hospice Ball go directly back to those granting programs.
Yeah.
So we're literally taking the money. There's no admin paid for out of it. There's no operational expenses. Just all those funds go directly back into those programs so that we can provide throughout the year for all of the patients and the providers.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So if people need any of a nudge to that, they're providing for a wonderful cause.
Yes.
I mean, there it is. Now, here's the Facebook page with people dressed up in the 40s style. Now, is this like a World War theme, post-World War II?
Well,
I mean, that was a
it's,
tumultuous decade.
Right?
When you think about
I
it.
know. You got to be a little gentle
The
with it.
beginning and the ending were very different animals.
Exactly. Well, our theme is Night of Stars. And so we're really focusing on the glamour of Hollywood. So if you think the men in, the suit pants with the suspenders and their
the
bow
zoot
ties
suits,
and the
sometimes they call
fedora,
it.
and you have the women in their long gowns with the gloves
A lot
and
of
the
necklaces
fastener.
and so on, I saw.
Yeah. And so it's 1940s theme. It's called Night of Stars.
Right.
And it's really a elegant red carpet gala. We have keno, bingo, 2 photo booths, live performers, a DJ. Oh gosh, what else? We have 3 different raffles. We have what we call a vacation station, where we have so many different vacations that you can bid on that we had to make it its own separate section.
That's great.
We have a silent auction, live auction. And then what's really cool is starting on the 6th through the 12th, Town Square Media is actually hosting an online kind of pre-auction for us. So there's an online auction component this year. And then, of course, you can get your pictures taken. You can dance, your dinner, everything. But the great thing is this year is we've really adapted our event to make more accessibility for the community.
Great.
So our tickets start at $50 a person.
Oh, very reasonable now.
Yes, and
maybe I will go.
Right? Well, and it also, that $50 includes dinner, desserts, a non-alcoholic beverage service of iced tea, water, hot tea, and coffee.
Right.
And it also includes your entry. So you're actually getting 4 different things for one person. So if you really think about it, a night out can get, $100, $150 anyway.
Yeah.
So make a Valentine's Day date and, get tickets to the Hospice Ball.
It's great. And it's coming up. Is it a Friday?
It's
February
Friday,
23rd?
February 23rd.
It starts at 6 p.m., runs till midnight.
Yes.
And tickets are available. I think Scott showed people
yes,
the
it's
website.
on hospiceball.com.
Yeah.
Or they can also get a hold of us, call 541-2255, and they can leave a voicemail for us and we'll get them tickets.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Kevi, we better get you on the road, but thanks so much for coming over and
Thank
taking
you.
the time. And I'm seriously going to consider this invitation. You guys should too.
Yes.
So a little delay on my alumni lecture series, but I swear the gentlemen are just outside the door and you're going to see them right after this.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Missoula Community Access Television works with kids in an active learning environment where they get hands-on experience in video production. MCAT offers weekly Saturday classes that spark creativity in kids from 9 to 13 years of age. Located downtown at 500 North Higgins. MCAT Saturday Drop-Ins. Create your story.
Sergeant Greg Amison with the Missoula Police Department. I'd like to talk a little bit about bicycles riding on the sidewalks in the city of Missoula, which we see a lot because Missoula is a very bike-friendly town. I would just like to let bicyclists know that they do have to yield to pedestrians on the sidewalk safely because they travel faster than a pedestrian, so they do have to do that in a safe manner. And then when you get to a crosswalk, you are actually required to slow your bicycle down to what would be called a pedestrian pace, and you cannot begin crossing until it's safe to do so.
All we're really doing is trying to make sure we give the community a lot of good information about some of the cool stuff going on the campus. So we invite current faculty, mostly, occasionally a retiree, but mostly current faculty, to tell us about some cool stuff you're doing, but then we do it thematically. So, one was on birds. That was really popular. We had lots of people working on birds.
That was amazing, actually, the bird one.
Yeah.
Well, in case you're just joining us, because Scott didn't tell us we were coming back, I want to introduce you both, Tom DeLuca and Chris Connor. Tom is the dean of the... Comer?
Comer.
Scott, it's Comer. Oh, he says he knows. Chris Comer, I apologize.
That's okay.
And Chris, your title is UM Dean of Humanities and Sciences. You are the Dean of the School of Forestry.
College of Forestry.
College of Forestry.
Yep.
He's got it back there. So, the Alumni Lecture Series in its 20th year started in 1998. And it was called Behind the Headlines, the series. There's a theme for each one of the 6 lectures.
Well, the theme is, so that was the title, it was Behind the Headlines, and then I think it was 3 professors each giving 2 lectures on something that they researched that sort of delves deeper than you might get in a superficial news account. And then it's been a different topic each year. One year it was actually like professors talking about books they read that changed their life.
Yeah.
When I first came as dean, I'm a brain scientist. We did it on the brain, and we got people all over campus to work on the brain. And this year we were talking about the theme was the environment, how complex it is, and how we deal with it on multiple levels. And we got excited about the possibility of doing something on forest fires, I should say wildland fires, because there's so, well, you can say it better than I could, the complexity of how they happen and how you deal with them, and the social consequences are really huge. So,
they're extraordinary. I mean, this last August made me vow never to be here in August again. I feel like a turncoat, but I'm like, I'm done. Yeah. This is it. This is the last August I'm spending in town. Yeah. And then after, I made my kind of selfish proclamation, whatever it was. Then when the California fires came in, it was such a loss of life and property. The number of buildings there built along the urban forest interface or whatever. That's infrequent here, but still resulted in tragedies down the Bitterroot by the score. I had, for instance, and I shouldn't go off in the weeds, I'm sorry, my nephew was visiting me from Long Island, and we were traveling through Sealy, and he thought, oh, this is great, wow, this is wild. We were stopped there for half an hour, and he turned his attitude so quickly, right? He started to get panicky, you know. So that's fascinating and deeply psychological as well as mechanical and all the rest of it. Well, so this theme, beyond the headlines, it kind of reflects the 20-year history, the first one being behind the headlines, clearing the air. So is it about fake news? Is that I was trying to address this notion that society is now so complex. I know for years, who are the folks that were talking about postmodernism, you know, and they were saying the truth is the image. I'm thinking of Michel Valentin, you know, for instance, and a guy in philosophy that used to come down to Crystal and bend my ear all the time. He'd say in the future, it doesn't matter what the truth is, it's simply how it's presented. And I'm like, how can that be? And he's like, because there's going to be this explosion of media.
Yeah, right. And so fake news is just one piece of it. I think that it's that blending of, or blurring of the lines between opinion and fact, and nobody's, you know, nobody can keep up with the amount of information that's being thrown at people through modern, you know, methods of social media and whatnot. And so, how do you distill it out? And yet, we have university with, you know, faculty that job is to try to understand truth, to try to seek truth and try to understand what is the evidence point to, what's our understanding of what's factual. And so you have this resource at your fingertips. Right.
The kind of mission, right? Like you're not supposed to shrug. I saw some Saturday Night Live thing, you know, where the new thing was like, this is what's happened lately. Does it matter? And the contestant would be like, that's terrible. It does matter. Meh, you're wrong. It doesn't matter, and so on. But that people are getting in this kind of shrug position anymore because they don't know what to believe. On the national level, we have this incredible debate as to what happened in the last election, which is also smoke and mirrors when you're talking about 100 million people deciding something. So I think you guys hit on a pretty fascinating topic. Who's in the lineup? Are you both going to speak, or have you chosen faculty?
You know, Tom and I were mostly involved in setting it up. And we're going to show up on the last night. It'll be a panel discussion to kind of pull all the threads together, and we're going to show up for that. But really, we've tried to recruit. We actually try to often recruit our newer faculty so that the community can get to know them a little bit and they can get introduced. So that's largely what we're doing here.
We better refer to the mechanics too. Talk about reality-based. It is every Tuesday. I wrote it down. February the 20th through March 27th, 7 p.m. Like always, really, in the University Theater, UC Theater.
UC Theater, right.
UC Theater's on the 3rd floor. Parking is not bad, right?
No,
it's 7.
It's fine.
That lot, like right to the north or whatever, the lot by the Mansfield Library, it's not bad. And if people can't do the stairs, there's that elevator. So I just want to make sure people watching, you know, get the idea, and they're free, right? Or do you buy tickets?
No, there's tickets. So
you use
donation
GrizTick or
to
something.
the Alumni Association.
Okay, that's right.
So the Alumni Association runs it. You can buy, it's real inexpensive. You can buy like a pass for the whole thing, or you can just show up on that night and get in. And
Scott's showing at home the website that Angie, you know, sent me the link for, and then it has get tickets right on the bottom. They're really inexpensive, and the wealth of information is pretty wild. And then to be in the room, you know, sometimes they say like, oh, you know, the movies provide every illusion but the presence of a person. This is real. I mean, the person will be there. And if you go there, you can ask questions after you hear it.
That's half the fun, because the questions are interesting. You know, people, if they get confused about something, they'll ask it, or they'll challenge the speaker a little bit. That's what it should be.
And are the speakers coming from a particular area of university, or did you try to spread them?
Well, they're spread across 3 colleges in a number of different departments, and we have
actually 4 colleges.
4 colleges.
Yeah, so health professions at my college, your college, health professions, and education.
That's right.
And law. There's 5 colleges.
Wow.
Oh, you have like a legal.
That's right.
The second, so the first 3 weeks are all on the wildland fire issue. The second phase, we shift a little bit to kind of justice and the justice system and the complexities of that. We have a bunch of social scientists working on it, some folks in law, and that'll be the second phase.
Nice. And then the fake news will run through it, or
that's the theme that ties it all together.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
At the end, we come back with this panel discussion to discuss each of those pieces around that theme of evidence-based, and and how do we discern between truth and opinion. And,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that idea. I think it's really needed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be preaching to a choir. It's really hard to say,
Yeah.
But this is what we do here at MCAT, right? We're putting it out there. So that's all we have is like dissemination and hope. That's all we got. We haven't much else. What are we going to do? Shrug.
Yeah.
So that part's hard.
Right.
So for the dear viewer that may be watching, I really encourage you to visit the website and take in the series if you'd like, or you can see if something tickles your fancy in particular. And I don't want to underscore the fact that MCAT has recorded it for the last 17 years, because it makes a world of difference being there and being able to ask the questions and hear more clearly. I mean, we get the questions sometimes, but that give and take, the TV can't substitute for it. It's just not going to do it, even though it's a simulacrum, verisimilitude, whatever. I'm feeling very academic with you guys here. Is there anything you want to add? I see we've got 2 minutes on the clock, and I want to thank you again for your patience too, waiting and letting Kevi go first and everything.
Oh, yeah,
no problem.
Yeah.
No, I think that well.
Actually, the one thing I would add is just this actually came from the community. So 20 years ago, the reason it happened is some folks in the community came to the university and said, hey, could we do a session like this so we could learn more about what you guys are really doing up here? And Ann Boone and Kitty Robbins were the two leaders on that, and they're still on the committee.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's been 20 years of trying to just make sure that we're opening our doors at least once a year to talk about broad issues and bring our expertise for essentially for free to the community.
Yeah. Free next to nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the beauty of the town and gown situation. I mean, one doesn't have to travel too far in Montana to see the difference of having an academic center in a town versus not having an academic center in a town. So I, for one, am very grateful. I will come and polish your ivory tower anytime.
Well, the faculty and the staff and folks that work there, I mean, they're all there because they like Missoula.
Yeah.
I mean,
And especially now. So yes, I agree. Well, thank you so much for waiting and sharing a bit of news about this upcoming event. I'm just going to remind the folks watching that Beyond the Headlines, Clearing the Air is the theme of the community lecture series, and the community of Missoula is invited. The lecture series is every Tuesday between February 20th through March 27th, 7 p.m., about 90 minutes with the Q&A in the University Center Theater at the University of Montana. Well, thanks again for coming by, and thank you, dear viewer, for watching this installment of Missoula Live. We will be back on February 20th because the 19th is President's Day. So until then, for MCAT, I'm Joel Baird. Thanks for watching.